My name is Alex Coburn. I'm an anthropologist, safari guide, and wilderness explorer. With a habit for getting into some unusual situations.
Fashion bar, Jeff?
Yeah, sure.
I've never been more uncomfortable in my life.
I wish I was somewhere warm. Fueled by a passion for wildlife, I search the world for conservation solutions. Because if you don't believe in climate change, you.
Best of luck to you.
It smells earthy and grassy.
And on this adventure, you're part of the team too.
I'm not even gonna finish sure. I'm just gonna shove this in my mouth.
It's so green and lush. Sabona peppers?
What the hell is happening?
This is nuts!
So let's go save the world. Now it's not flashing.
Oh my God.
Is it good now?
We're good now?
Every single time.
Always.
Every single time. Welcome back, all 2 people watching this broadcast at the moment, to Misguided. I'm Alex. It's been a while since we've been together. It's been, what has it been, Jeff? Since like April that we've done a serious show?
1,000 years.
It's been eons. It's been many moons since we've done a serious show. We took the summer off, more or less, because we're people too and needed, I don't know, what do we do, Jeff? Do we need some time to relax? Clearly get a tan here. I'm as white as I've ever been.
You're looking great. Fresh haircut.
Right? Styling. You're looking not too bad yourself. You spend, what, 15 hours a day in the sun?
Give or take, yeah.
You've got your Jeff cam on?
I don't, but I guess I could do that, huh?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to reintroduce you, if you haven't already met, Jeff De Silva.
Wait, oh God, hang on. Where did you
That was your cue.
thing? I know it was.
You have one job.
I'm so sorry. Ta-da!
He's made it, and they probably
We're
can
here.
barely hear you because the mic is way over here.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. We're a little rusty. We're going to get a little better here, but hey, I'm glad you guys are back. Again, all 2 of us watching. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're watching this after the fact, if it's not live, if it's not flashing red up in the corner like a pulsating red star deep in space, I could have gone with something else, Jeff, on
could have.
pulsating.
I'm glad
A pulsating, throbbing red star,
Top.
much like the one that destroyed Krypton.
Good. Good, Raptors.
Good, good. He's getting better on his feet.
I mean, Krypton imploded on itself, but...
Don't
you know,
correct
I'm
me. Don't. Or I'll go cry in a corner for 2 hours about
No,
being
don't
corrected.
make me do this by myself.
We're
We're here.
How's that for an intro? If this isn't live and you're watching this somewhere down the line, thank you for actually clicking on it and watching. I'd encourage you to watch the other stuff on this channel, because all we do here on Misguided is explore the world around us. We try to get curious, ask questions, go on adventures. Most of the show is done in this weird kind of late night version. We've got our Teddy Roosevelt here, a big cup, because that's what every late night host ever has. But the point of the show is to get curious about our planet and try to answer big questions. And tonight, the big question, very simply, is when you communicate nature, what goes into that? What are the skills you need? What are the hurdles you have to jump over? Is there such thing as a bad, shitty guest? You know, there's a lot of pitfalls we could fall into here. So I've got a wonderful crew of people together. I'm not sure where we all are, but the Avengers will assemble here in a minute. And hopefully we have a wonderful chat about presenting nature, because it's a challenge. And if you've ever been to a zoo, if you've been to a national park, if you've been on a safari, if you've been anywhere where somebody khaki clad came out and talked to you about nature, you were dealing with somebody who's probably an alcoholic, probably depressed on some level, and probably has had to experience some major trauma to get to that point, because it's basically like being a stand-up comedian, except you're not funny. You're out there presenting material. And I think there's a couple key talking points that would be really fun to try to chat about tonight. Like, the big question on my mind is, what the hell are we all doing? I mean, seriously, in all seriousness, what the hell are we doing? When you get up and present nature, there's so many different ways you could do this. You could be the guy holding a snake with an Australian accent and regurgitating a Steve Irwin act. You could be the person presenting ambassador animals and talking about how those animals have now been repurposed. You could be the person ultimately dressed up in khaki, cruising around trying to get people to get good photos of animals while avoiding children throwing up on you. You could, I mean, there's so many things you could do here. And we're going to totally cover all that. I'm just double checking our stream health here for a second. Look at that, Jeff. You're smiling right there. You've got the house in the background.
I'm so happy.
And it's all blown out. I love it.
Fine.
Tell the people how you've been, Jeff. All two of us.
I've been good. Been dying to do this again. I'm excited for this whole episode.
What did we do, though, a few weeks ago? Because we haven't been up to nothing. We've been making some content on the side.
We've got things in the works. We're doing a whole video about poop.
Yes.
Which is exciting.
Did you ever think you would be in a point where you're narrating videos about poop?
No. But I'm so glad I am.
And you were supposed to do a Winnie the Pooh voice in that, and you didn't quite get to it. Can you give us your best Winnie the Pooh?
No,
Oh, bother.
please don't make me.
The rule of improv here is to always say yes,
Yes,
and.
I know. I get that. I can't do Winnie the Pooh. I can do Mickey.
Bother.
That was okay, actually. I feel like it's a little breathier.
It needs to. Bother. Come on. We made a. Go ahead.
No. What were we gonna say?
We made a video about poop, and it was so much fun.
We did.
We've started producing content with Manga Bay Kids, Mongabay. That's how you spell Manga Bay. Kids. We get all of our news on this show from mongabay.com, which is, I'm sure most of you know, an environmental, if I can get all my words in line there, news agency that simply prides itself on bringing you conservation news from the front lines. But one of their big hang-ups is they're really niche-y and they focus a lot on other academics. So Mongabay Kids has taken up the mantle of saying, kids are bottom line, our first attempt at trying to make wildlife advocates, trying to make people interested in conservation. So let's make a channel dedicated just to them. And we've been lucky enough to kind of get in on the ground floor and help them with some of their video content. In a few weeks, where are we going to be?
We're going to be in Palm Desert.
Palm Desert, full of palms.
Full of palms.
And a man named Jesus on a donkey.
I don't think that's the name. I think we're meeting a different person.
I'm pretty sure that was a city there, though. A man named Jesus on a donkey.
Sure. That sounds right.
Yeah, that is. No, we're gonna resurrect Safari Steve.
Yes.
Which has been a fun character to do on this show. Yes. And actually, that's quite apropos for tonight's theme about presenting nature.
It is, yeah.
Where did Safari Steve come from?
Your crazy little noggin over there.
This thing here.
You
this oddly shaped.
To us, what made you think of Steve? Where does Steve come from?
Well, hopefully, like we get into later tonight, if you present nature regularly, and that is your job that you do every day for 14 hours a day because you don't have any time off, you eventually go insane. I mean, look at this. I'm sitting in a field with Teddy Roosevelt in a khaki jacket. I've passed the Rubicon of insanity here. I'm so far down that rabbit hole.
And we're just talking to each other.
We're talking to each other. There's nobody else here. Yeah, and the two people watching this. Yes. I'm so happy you guys are here. No, you eventually you hit this point of insanity where you've said the same thing so many different times. And I don't know, Jeff, did you ever toss out how you said stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Because I made a habit every season of throwing out the dialogue that I was comfortable with and forcing myself to start over and rethink how I presented everything.
Right.
And I think if you drink the Kool-Aid and you're into the juice, you really believe that it's super important, but you're confronted every single day with people that shop at Costco and Walmart and Hobby Lobby and aren't contributing much because they're just living their life and they're not regularly engaged in how fast does a cheetah go to 60 miles an hour. I mean, it's just not their interest. Yeah. So when I found guests that were hey, do you mind?
We're doing a show here.
You've been doing this for 12 hours. When I found guests that repeatedly were just kind of exhausting to deal with, I started doing this voice that kind of had a lisp to it. And they didn't even notice I was doing something different. That was the beauty of it. I was doing it for me. This voice with a lisp about this super... I don't know what that was.
I don't know. Something's happening over there.
Something weird's going on. Hitchcock is up there having a party. This weird wispy voice, very enthusiastic, just super fun and exciting, but knows nothing. So we're going to go talk about rocks for 45 minutes, but none of the information was true or accurate. Safari Steve, they're all minerals. Every rock you see is a mineral. That's rule number 1, guys. No, it was a voice I started doing because I was bored and needed a way to entertain myself. And then it was something that other people would start to pick up on and became kind of a gag with the people I run with. And eventually, my good buddy Ben, who I hope he's not watching now, I know that much.
I don't know. He sent me an Instagram post, though.
Ben, you better watch this show.
I'm going to make him watch.
He picked up the voice when we were in Africa and does so much better at it than you and I ever did.
A natural.
He's a natural.
He's a natural thief.
He's doing like a Jim Carrey take on it, and it just
Right.
works so much better.
Yeah.
So we've got him now as Safari Steve for Manga Bay Kids. We're going to go out to the desert. We're going to film some stuff about plants. Because have you ever noticed, everyone's really excited to talk about animal stuff, but when you're like, what about the other side of the tree of life?
Yeah.
They're like, excuse me? Because who cares about grass?
Hello.
So we're going to go out and we're going to film a thing about Joshua trees with him. That'll be fun. Let me pull up, unless Jeff has any other thoughts.
No.
Are there any questions coming through? Any comments, concerns? Anybody going, is Alex okay? This isn't normal.
No, it's just us still.
Just
so.
us.
Well, and your mom, I think.
And my mom. Thank you,
Mom.
Mom, for watching. Let's pull up the news here. I don't have that queued up as a graphic. So instead, Jeff and I will just read it and talk about it, and hopefully these damn ravens go away after a while. Corvids. Am I right? Where did the headline go here? There was actually kind of some... Oh, painted dogs.
Ooh.
Did you see this one?
No. What do you got?
A whole new group of them have been reintroduced to Mozambique,
Oh, okay.
which is the first time a big chunk have been moved. Now, any thoughts? Where might these dogs have come from?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Survey says South
Okay.
Africa. I'm finding this fascinating. Have you noticed the trend in Africa seems to be every reintroduction program, they're using animals from South Africa. Like the Joubers, you know them?
See?
He's the crazy looking, like if Einstein met, I can't use that reference because no one else will know who I'm talking about. Just think the Einstein of wildlife.
Yeah.
And his wife have been reintroducing rhino to Botswana, different parts of the Okavango Pan.
Yeah.
All the rhinos are from South Africa. All the rhino reintroductions to East Africa. Guess where they're from, Jeff?
Services?
South Africa. Every giraffe reintroduction, elephant reintroduction, they're all coming from South Africa. And I don't know, how did you feel about... Let's briefly walk through the experience we had in South Africa.
Right.
My first impression was this is unbelievably amazing, but that's because we were in Kruger.
Okay, of us being in Africa.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
How did you feel?
Yeah, it was breathtaking, I think, initially, getting into Nelspruit there and just immediately, wildlife, we drove right into Kruger, insane.
Right?
And then we left the park.
Well, the park is open borders in every direction.
Right.
Epic. But we left the park and went to private reserves, and that's where it got really weird because they were kind of like a zoo.
Yeah.
It was like a big chunk of land that was fenced, and then they put all these animals in it, and they were allowed to just live their life, but they couldn't leave the park.
Right.
So I was like, excuse me, how is this any different than a zoo where you just throw out all the ethics and let animals eat each other? Which I'm totally on board with. That's cool, but isn't this basically a giant zoo?
Right.
Boy, they're really going at it. Let's just let this get awkward. I'm sure the audience can't even hear them.
They'll probably stop at some point.
No, they have to stop. It was strange, but all those private game reserves are former ranches that have been converted
Yeah.
into game parks. You don't see that in other areas. You don't see it in Botswana, which is open border all the way.
The opposite, yeah.
They went
yeah.
so far as to take their military and turn them into all park rangers. Yes. You guys don't fight wars anymore. You only fight poachers.
Good.
That's cool. East Africa famously doesn't have very confined spaces. So they're almost relying on the South Africans to breed some of this stock because there's so many other issues, and a lot of them have a lot to do with agriculture, confining wildlife. A lot of them have to do with urbanization and development of land.
Yeah.
It's strange. Let's just go through the headlines here. We have old and new solutions pave way to net zero emissions, farming studies show. I think I'm going to skip that one.
Okay.
As blazes on embargoed Amazon land surge, links to meat industry emerge. This is a developing story that I think is strange and tragic. So the Amazon, what's the state of the Amazon, Jeff?
It's not good.
Bleak.
Not good, Alex.
Bleak. And what's gone on there over the last 2 years?
Fires and deforestation and all sorts of jazz.
And is that bad?
All the good stuff.
Are wildfires bad?
Wildfires have a purpose.
I love the look in your eye when you're like, I don't know where he's going with this. I don't know what to say. In this case, they're bad because they're set by people.
Right.
And they're burning down land that would have been pristine wilderness. And they're turning it into beef stocks largely, along with soy is right up there. And in certain areas, pineapple we're doing off.
Pineapple. Okay.
Pineapple, that friendly fruit that means swingers, is a symbol of destruction. In Sierra Leone, 2 colorful land crabs rediscovered rather, to new species and 2 new species found. That's cool. Let's skip the crabs. New report provides roadmap for expanding chestnut agroforestry in the U.S. I am really keen on learning more about this. The combination of agriculture and better management of landscapes. I think it's a challenge because it almost transcends humanity. If you look at humans, we're this very nomadic animal that should be moving a lot. We should be foraging from the land. And as of circa about 10,000 BCE, we decided, no, we're good here all the time planting stuff like wheat. That's probably better for us. And in the long run, it's actually way worse for us because you fast forward 10,000 years and now you've got a dude on the couch eating Twinkies and Ho-Hos all day, and that's less good.
Twinkies still a thing? Did they discontinue those?
I'm going to flip over this table if they discontinue Twinkies.
Did I make that up? Is that a bad dream?
And then Jeffrey's cat in the news. Let's finish with this guy here because we got a big show to jump onto here. One of South America's most abundant felids, the Jeffrey's cat, found on Animal Cam for the first time in a while.
Wow.
We don't have a picture of one.
They're adorable, though.
They are. You should Google Jeffrey's cat. Actually, let's see how well we can do here. That's a Jeffrey's cat. Or is it Joffrey?
I feel like it's Joffrey's.
Joffrey? Jeffrey?
Adorable.
Jeff's cat.
My cat. That's right.
Don't assume. What do they want to be called? Round ear boys.
Spotty boys.
Spotty boys. That's all the news we got for you guys. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to try to redirect this insane off-the-rails show that we've already got going for you and jump into the weeds about nature presenting, guiding, interpreting, discussing nature in all the different facets that you could ever imagine. Don't go away. We'll be back here in about 2 minutes.
My name is... Why is that artichoke talking? I'm a pangolin, which basically means my tongue is longer than my body, and I'm pretty much per bowling ball. But the pangolin pièce de resistance? Really only mammals with scales. Pretty neat, huh? Poachers think so too. You see, people use us for traditional medicine and leather boots. The situation is critical. Averaging about 100,000 goodbyes a year. I have to do something. I have to star in a movie. If I become famous, pangolins will become famous. People will notice us and finally care about us. So guys, help my species become known. In Hollywood, let me star in a movie. Please!
coming here with my family was really a dream come true. The park has offered what I expected. There's wildlife all over the place. Seeing the wildebeest migration with my children and looking at their face and the excitement is something that is priceless. East Africa is known for the mammal, and kids looking at what they've seen here in Serengeti and comparing to what they've seen on TV and really increasing their attention and experiences in their relationship with wildlife has been something I would like to bottle and keep forever.
Welcome back.
Where's
couldn't.
Jeff?
Well, Jeff's right here. Jeff, tell her you're right here.
He's back.
Whoa, the chair's broken.
Ninja roll.
The chair's broken.
Here I am. I left my phone over there, but that's fine. We don't need that.
Did you break your chair?
Don't question it.
Just back here.
Just noticing that I've got all the comments running here. Looks like we have quite a few people with us, actually. That's awesome.
Yes.
We've got my mom. Hi, Mom. We've got Shirley. We've got David, Paul. So glad to see everybody here. Just reviewing the comments really quick. We better find a way to make plants exciting, or else, I agree, David. David's from Mongabay.
Hey.
Let us know, too, if you can hear. Okay, we've got the mic communal right now, right here in the middle. Yeah, we have several great ideas about plants, I think, in the works here.
We've already got a script starting.
We do, and we're going to get that nailed down here soon. Paul W. says Jeff was our tour guide at Safari West.
Oh,
Probably
bringing
terrible.
people in.
What?
And we've got him right
Oh
here.
my god!
He's famous.
You're famous.
I'm famous.
You're
I did it, guys. I made it.
This is the beginning.
He never said you were good, though.
Well, hey,
Paul, was Jeff any good? Was he good, or was he just kind of...
don't answer that. Don't answer.
We want to know.
Full service review.
God, guys, I peaked, I think.
Yep, this is
I
it.
have a whole posse of one
Downhill
person.
from here.
Did we hear any painted dogs howl when we were in Africa? We heard... So, no, not directly howling. But we did hear them yip and yap and make, kind of cute little dog noises just here.
My friend.
And the crows do have something to say. They've actually just quieted down, thankfully. But all right, I think we're all caught up with our comments. Welcome back, if you're still with us, that is. I'm going to just keep scrolling down. Why don't we go around the round table here and introduce? Do you want to start, Lynette?
Yeah, I think most of you have probably seen me pop in and out of these before, but I'm Lynette Lyon, and I am an ambassador, animal ambassador, and conservation educator. What do you do?
Wait, hold up. Who's this?
Oh, yes. And
Who's your friend?
she's sleeping. It's fine. And this is, I run an animal rescue in Sonoma. So we have domestics, exotics, and restricted species. And her name is Havoc. She's about 12 weeks old. And I found her in a field about 2 weeks ago. And now she lives with me. Nobody wanted her, but we thought... You couldn't hear that,
Nobody
but it was
wanted
a
her.
very tragic little sound. But she does make a really interesting ambassador in her own right, because she's a livestock guardian dog, which is a type of dog that would be used to protect livestock, not just in the U.S., but all over the world. And they're a big part of wildlife conservation, especially in Africa, because they help deter things like leopards, cheetahs, and lions. Havoc, you're going to do great.
Great things.
Great thing. She just cries. All right.
Do I have to go?
You do.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Hey there. I'm Jeff. I've been a zookeeper and a guide for just over a decade now. You know, semi kind of sidekick host thing for this crazy show we call Misguided.
You're the full sidekick. You're the Robin by Batman.
Which Robin?
The one with the nipples.
Not that one.
Hi there, I'm Geraldo Schweizhofer. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
I mostly wear khaki, and that's about it.
That's all you are. And my name's Jackson Keller. I'm also a guide. I have my guiding license out of South Africa, but haven't been doing it as long as these guys have been, but slowly working my way towards that.
Cool. Hey, I'm Kira Ortiz, also a guide. I have a degree, but I'm working a minimum wage job plus tips. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
If
Cheers.
I had a
cheers.
drink, I would cheers here.
Living the good
Salute.
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
And we've got Rachel just off camera here, huddling up to stay warm. Could you do us a favor and run the producer's booth? Could you tell me if the audio is spiking?
Rachel also made cookies for us.
Oh my God, they're so good.
And
With all the chocolate chips.
Cool, it is.
with like 4 types of chocolate chips.
So good.
It was and a lot of butter.
We're just getting the show up and rolling, so by the next episode, we're going to have Rachel's Sweet Treats back on, and she'll have something wonderful and sustainably made. I don't know if you guys have heard of that segment. That she does a whole segment on the show about like sustainable baking and
Oh, I love
using
that.
ingredients that are like locally sourced if possible,
Cool.
And every
Yeah.
single thing she makes is great.
including the milk
Milk
tart.
Including the milk tart.
Well, I thought I would put some collective minds together here. All of us, I think, approach this very differently and have different viewpoints on collectively just kind of, we'll call it like nature interpreting or nature presenting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Do we want to argue about that?
No. That'll do.
I'm saving my arguments for later.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
Saving
For
them up.
after the show.
And we're up
That's
to
right.
7 people now watching. I'm so excited. All 7 of you guys are here. If you have questions too or want to join the discussion, we can actually see the chat now. So we'll include you. We've left a virtual seat for you exactly where you are. But for the time being, we're going to get the ball rolling here. And I totally prepared for this, so I'm going to just make up all these questions.
Okay.
I think first, I'd be really keen to see how do we all define the idea of what is like ethically interpreting nature? What does that mean? Because I'll just kind of jump in with, for me, it's about creating an experience where the viewer or the guest is enriched by nature in a way that doesn't harm nature.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. I feel like trying to get someone engaged without harming nature, but something that really piques their interest, something that they can relate to. You know, that's all that I had off the top of my head. I won't.
Like, you know,
but
that's
yeah. The big point is trying to get someone interested in something like nature. 'Cause nature's cool. There's a lot going on, right, Lynette?
I'm gonna take that a step
I
further.
can hear you. Like
You can
I
hear
have
me
something to
bigger.
say.
I can take it a step further. I think for me, the most important way I can impact people, because I use animals to help influence people and influence their opinion of animals and wildlife, is empathy. I feel like there is not enough of that in nature. We see a lot of people just like every day, and they just don't care about things, or they go out of their way to kill stuff, which is really bizarre. Like stuff that's not even bothering them. I see people deliberately run over gopher snakes. I don't get the point of that. And so when you can create an empathetic connection, and that's sort of the beauty of ambassador animals. You can give them names, you can give them personalities. They have them. They have names, they have personalities, they have favorite things, favorite foods, favorite people. And by sort of expressing the idea of empathy and that animals share that with us, we can really, garner a lot more interest, a lot more care.
Good answer.
Yeah, I was like, oh, shoot.
Keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
What do you guys got?
Squish yours two together. You kind of have to be able to connect with the person and with the animal together to be able to create that empathy. And that's really the only way someone's going to be able to care about an animal, is if they actually are empathetic or have some emotions relating to it, other than hatred or like the gopher snakes running over them and things like that. They have to have some care for the animal to actually be able to go out and do something out of their day to be able to.
It could be a
do their
plant
thing.
too.
That's true.
Bingo.
Could be a plant.
Just saying.
It's like I can instantly.
You're all about
make
those
the
oak
word
trees.
out.
Oh, I got my first oak tree question today.
What?
I was like, oh, you want to know all the species? I've been studying this for
Oh.
months. I've been waiting for you. Yeah.
Alex Coburn's cheat sheet.
I
I
had.
can go grab his binder from my car right now because I still have it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
What they ask?
They, she was like, do you have any? And she listed the scientific nomenclature of, I believe it was the valley oak. And I was like, well, you see this one? Blue oak. Valley. We do have valley oak. We have the California black oak, and we have a coast live oak. And do you want to touch all the leaves? I'll find them for you.
You
Yeah.
gotta find a creepier way to. Do you want to molest the leaves? Do you want to stroke the leaves?
Rub the leaves.
Give them a tap.
Yeah. Do you want
Softly pet the leaves.
Yeah.
But it is actually, it's a lot easier, I feel like, to engage people with animals because we can
It is.
relate to them.
Yeah.
But like with kids, for example, it's pretty easy to get kids to care about plants because you can just go with the fertilizer situation.
I kind of
Everything
want to
comes
argue
down
that because
to
something that you do a lot is you'll take samples from leaves or a bush and look at the texture on this one, or oh look, now it smells good, right? I think there's a lot of value to not just the animals but plants as well.
Well, that raises, I think, a good question because, like, we've got our lovely friend here.
Havoc.
We've all been in that spot, I'd imagine, where people go, "Can I touch it? Can I pet it? Can I hold it?"
All of the time.
Where are the boundaries of this? Because I think, we're an ape. We like touching stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
we
how we
do.
explore the world.
Yeah,
Sure.
we're tactile. So yeah, getting people to touch plants or here, smell it. I mean,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
to me is a really useful tool for. It's not an esoteric thing that we just look. It's not under glass. Have you ever seen pennyroyal? Let's pick it up and smell it. And
Yeah.
a wonderfully minty smell to it. Something like that. Here's a cactus that you give to somebody irritating. Grip this really hard and feel
Here,
its hairy
catch.
spines. No. Tactile. Where are the boundaries of that? Obviously this is okay.
Well, so that's kind of interesting. So I've had a question pretty recently: is she a wolf? And people know what I do. They know the animals that I have, and so I don't feel like that's a question outside the norm.
Okay,
But
she has a
A
mosquito on her
mosquito
face.
landed directly in the
Oh,
middle.
Yeah, okay, cool.
It was bothering me
nice.
so
Sound
much.
asleep. But I mean, if you think about that, okay, yeah, she could initially pass for a wolf. How many people have ever wanted to pet a wolf? This is a dog that's going to reach wolf size, wolf proportions. And so that would be a realistic thing to be able to do. Just be like, yeah, basically you're petting a domesticated Eurasian wolf. There is no need for you to go like buy an illegal wolf and put it in your apartment because people have no impulse control, and that's a whole other $1,000 hat.
Yeah.
$1,000
Is that a
hat.
new phrase now? $1,000 hat.
$1,000
Yep.
hat. But the thing is, when it comes to acquiring animals that you shouldn't have, we do need more impulse control because it's one thing to get an expensive hat or a new game or whatever, but when you decide like, oh yeah, I just really want that animal with no thought of the consequences. But as for petting and as for touching, like you said, we're apes. We also want to like possess things. We love to have things.
So we're secretly all Gollum.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But the idea is, through the television, you can hear things, you can see things, but you can't smell them and you can't touch them. And we are so tactile. So to be able to give someone an opportunity to pet.
You said television, sorry, and I'm just picturing like a little kid tapping the screen. Elephants?
If you didn't do that as a toddler, you were not right. It's like I tried to catch the Animaniacs like 8 times. I went behind the TV. It was a thing. But
Sorry, I interrupted.
the point is, these encounters, these face-to-face experiences, those really give people that chance to contact, to touch. And so, plants are another great way to do that. Fossils, rocks, stones, sand. Like, have you ever seen a kid in a sandbox? It is hard to get them out, and they're just touching dirt. So we love to touch things. We love to be tactile, and I do like providing that opportunity. Not all of my animals can be petted, but then I can give a comparison for what they feel like. So if someone can't pet the bush baby because of COVID, I can be like, well, he feels a bit like a rabbit. He's very soft. He feels like a bunny. Like, that's acceptable. That makes sense to people, and they have that comparison.
Have you ever had someone ask, what does he feel like? And you go, I bet you like to know.
I have done that, not with kids. I'm usually very polite with kids. But the thing, sometimes with certain adults who've been bugging me. Darwin, so my bush baby, his name is Darwin. He's very easy to deter most people from petting him because as all 4 of these people know, and Rachel knows, he is literally covered in his own pee, and that's totally by design. He does that on purpose. I don't just throw him in urine. So I don't know.
You shouldn't have that bush baby if that's what you're doing.
That's the question I get all the time. It's how is he covered? It's not why, it's how.
Don't worry about it.
You don't want to know.
He pees on himself. Yeah, but how? With his pee.
Extremely carefully.
Demonstrate it.
Demonstrate it.
Demonstrate it now.
You got little kids who are looking down. They're maybe thinking about
Will
things.
I turn into Spider-Man if I pee in my own hands?
Bit by
Wait, is that easy?
So some animals, you can absolutely deter people very, very easily. Some people, it's a little harder.
Yeah.
Or some animals, it's much harder. So to give them a different comparison to something they probably have petted, chinchillas or rabbits or dogs or cats, and then specify the breed because they feel different sometimes. Then you can, like the serval, I can't let people pet him, but I can say he feels like a Labrador, and he does. And a lot of people have pet a Labrador. So, yeah.
So bring it up like you did the children versus adult kind of thing. Let's start with, I think nature should be for everybody. It should be for all age groups. But there's some hard lines for what's appropriate at what age.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about that. What would you do with toddlers versus, your 7 and 8 year old crowd versus teens, and then, it's very different when you get into the adult world. So let's talk about age. What does that look like when you're trying to, talk about something hard like how plants receive light from the sun? I mean, you can't tell 4-year-olds the whole story because it just doesn't translate.
It's kids are smarter, I think, than we give them credit for. Toddlers.
Absolutely.
I have had toddlers totally understand the concept of how fennec foxes use their ears to dispel heat. Like, they understand the idea of blood flow into the ears, air carrying heat away, cool blood flowing back in, like the same way you might with a hot cup of tea. They get it. And I've had adults just be like,
Yeah.
I've literally had toddlers explain this concept to me.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I feel like you can, oh no.
But
Kids
I
are
think the
smart,
big
man.
thing there is analogies.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of what you actually just did. Like, you compare it to something else that you know.
Yeah.
And that is probably the most helpful thing that I've discovered for kiddos,
Yeah.
What do they know about what's in their world so far? Well, let's add to it by, yeah.
Yeah, analogies. That goes, I think, making it relatable.
Yeah.
Above all else.
Again,
Yeah.
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 That's exactly what I was going to say. You got to make it relatable. I have nothing to add. I mean, that
Yeehaw.
was literally
Yeah,
everything
good
I was
stuff.
saying, and you got to beat me to it.
I'm so excited to socialize. I could keep talking. I'm looking at humans my age.
Here, I'll just take the dog. and
We
you
have
guys
a
talk.
comment here. Young children would be interested in plants.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Is that something we've all experienced?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Recent experience. Yes.
Go.
So
Go ahead, Lynette.
I'm just so excited. So I've been running a nature camp at a local animal resource center. I use a lot of my own animals, but we do have a lot of extra instruments that I specially requested. We got a microscope. And so I explained to them the concept of field scientist, how to take samples in the field. And what we did is we would go out into the gardens, and I would have them they'd work in teams of 4. I'd have each team pick a plant. They'd decide together what plant they were interested in, and we would use an app to ID the plant, common name, Latin name, where it's from, all that stuff, write it down, and then go look at it under a microscope. And they were fascinated. They were like, look at the veins, look at the colors, look at the pollen, look at the water. And I was sort of stunned how interested they were, because this was like a day one thing. So this was like weeks and weeks ago that I did this, and I was like, wow, you guys really really like this. Okay, let's get into some plant talk.
So it was about that macro level of getting in there and see hidden worlds.
I think that was part of it, but also the idea of collaboration in science, which is something that's still not encouraged in school. And I'm a big believer that all science should be collaborative, even in classrooms, like even at high school level. You should always be working in a team to answer test questions. And the reason is kids learn better from their peers if they're pooling knowledge than they are if some adults just making rote conversation. And so by having them work as a team and discuss how they would approach field science and how they would make labels and where a plant is from and how that fits into the ecosystem, they were far more interested in learning as a group than they were learning as individuals, because we're social creatures.
If the pandemic taught us anything, we are social beings.
Yes.
What age range was this?
My groups were 8 to 12.
Gotcha.
So it was a pretty wide age range, but the interesting thing is all of them really liked this. Not all of them liked all the activities, but all of them loved this specific activity. And so, yeah, to see these groups of 4 kind of coming up with ideas and having them tell me where this fit into the ecosystem and what animals relied on it and things like that, that was really fun.
And that's such a fun age because they're not old enough yet to have forgotten like being a little kid, so they're not embarrassed. Yeah. But they're also old enough to understand much bigger concepts and basically be tiny adults in a way. And you can talk to them and joke with them in a way that you couldn't a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old because they're more independent and they're just willing to go along with you and then also be goofy and silly and play strange games.
And they come up with ideas that I would not ever think of. Like they still have that sense where nobody has told them you have a bad idea, and that's
no
the thing.
Squashed their dreams.
No one's
squashing dreams. It's just that like at no point are any of their, and I'm really serious about this, I don't think that when it comes to conservation there are necessarily bad ideas. There's actions that should not be carried out, but there are ideas that can always be built upon, even if they are just out of this world or definitely won't work. That doesn't mean that there is not some level of, usability to it.
Yeah, definitely. Just checking in here. I think our audience still seems happy. Solid.
Bueno.
I'm trying to think how to direct here because wonderful up to this point. I don't want to ruin it by switching gears too hard. We're doing great. We're doing stealth. Whoa.
Slam on the brakes.
Share broke again.
Talk about Alex's hat.
That worked. The $1,000 hat. No, so I guess I'm curious about how do you bottle passion and excitement? Because I take it we're all interested in most of these concepts to begin with.
Yeah.
And then you have a group of people that could care less because they're there purely for entertainment. I've seen that in every type of facility I've ever worked at. It's hard. I guess the only comparison I would have would be, and no offense, I don't give a shit about Marvel.
All right.
Right? And I know it's something that
Yikes.
you enjoy, and I know it's something a ton of other people really love.
Yeah.
I could give 2 cents about whatever hero does one thing
He's
and
a
the other
DC
one.
fan
Yeah,
because he
he's-
knew about Krypton.
Yeah. And
Right?
he made a Batman reference. So hey.
But you know what I'm getting at here is like, this is clearly our thing.
Yeah.
It's our niche. And when you're confronted with people that just don't care, it's like, how could you not care about the planet, man?
Yeah.
Hair grows out, mustache, weed pops out of nowhere.
Yep.
Calm down there, Captain Planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to wear tighties. What is he? He wears like blue and red?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Superman?
Yeah, it's like a red.
Green hair?
I feel like we're gonna make that
Blue
happen
skin.
for Halloween. But yeah. Anyone else want to
Yeah,
jump in?
I think this is kind of where sometimes pop culture comes into play, and what you and I have talked about a lot, of where I think humor goes a lot of way.
Sure.
Like a long way. That's with the kind of just flat face kind of people. It's like, okay, I'm gonna crack you. How am I gonna do it?
I will.
And
own
so
you.
I'm gonna get you. And that's when you just try different things and see what kind of sense of humor they have, right? And once you get them to smile or laugh, it's like, gotcha.
Now that I have
now
you,
I'm
going
in.
to tell you a super depressing story about
That's right.
the last northern white rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, I just like using humor as a tool.
Which is great. Do you guys use? I mean, how effective is humor? Is there? I'm afraid of people that are like, I'm a comedian and giving it.
Yes, there's a fine line between the entertainment versus the factual.
Yeah.
And every group's a toss-up. You could have the kiddo group and you're sitting 10 feet away from a big old rhinoceros, 5,000, 6,000 pounds, and a squirrel goes over there. You've lost the entire truck. They're looking at the squirrel now. I'm like, the ground squirrel. There's so many here, but that's what you're interested in. But you kind of have to go with it. Attention span is also a big one. You're looking at the people you're presenting. You're like, okay, I got some glazed over eyes here. No one's paying attention to me. No one's actively listening. Like, there's a way you can kind of gauge your group, but I think absolutely humor's a way to do it. But at the same time, yeah, it's that really fine line of, do I want to be giving them facts and knowledge, and how do I want them to walk away today? Do I want them walking away kind of thinking about something to change in their daily life that may be better for the environment? Do I want them to go home and research more on the northern white rhinos or what the situation is with any species of rhino? It's hard. It's hard.
Got a question here, or maybe a comment. Are there any good nature presenting celebrities now that kids are watching? Do Steve Irwin types have any positive role to play in conservation?
Wildcrats.
Yeah, I was like,
Wildcrats.
Which is amazing.
Kristen, Martin Kratz.
They've been at it since like 1991.
Yeah,
They've
something
been going
we've
at it,
probably
yeah.
all grown up on, even though we're all different.
Zaboomathoo.
Yeah.
Kratz creatures. High
Yeah.
five.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Big,
Even that
another
guy.
big one.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
And these are still the current.
I
We've
think-
got our spot checker. Survey says, because you deal with children daily.
Yes, but it's the cartoon version.
So they're into the animated.
The animated.
Animated.
I think they can
Well,
take
you can
things
do a lot
further.
You
with
can do a lot with
animation.
There's no
animation.
limits,
That's why.
yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
Let's go to space.
There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah, let's go to
back-
space.
Exactly.
We need a
go to the
giraffe
deep
to
sea.
fly an airplane. Great.
Absolutely.
We can do it. Draw it.
But I'd like to touch upon, I love what Kira said, is there's like the fine line between if you're just like going for pure humor. The great thing about animals, wildlife, nature in general, though, is so many facts are in themselves really funny.
Hilarious.
I just,
Absolutely.
like the whole, like we discussed, you weren't here for this, but we were discussing, I absolutely blew these kids' minds and made them just laugh hysterically the other day when I explained that jellyfish don't have butts. I used butts. I was like, anus is the proper term, but we're gonna go with butts because I don't want to get in trouble. So I was like, they don't have butts, and they're like, how do they poop? And I'm like, oh, it gets better. They poop out of their mouths, and then they're like, what? And I was like, and it gets even better. Jellyfish poop is called throop. It's called throoping because they throw up their poop. Some scientists went and decided, they're like, I'm going to write, publish, and get a peer-reviewed paper, and we're going to call this throoping. So I was like,
It's going to be all the rage.
Better have gotten an award for that or
Glasgow.
something.
throoping. I couldn't use the word because I didn't use anus, but the mouth butt is also called a manus because it's a mouth anus. So it's a manus and it throops. And I was just like you're losing your mind. So when you like go to a group of adults, like even if it's not totally relevant to what you're discussing, there are ways to bring it back. Because jellyfish are a cool animal because you can be like, so they don't have butts, but they also don't have brains. Their entire body is a network of neurons. You know, another animal that's kind of similar, octopuses. They have all their brains in their tentacles, and then like from octopus they change colors, so you can go to chameleons, and then from chameleons you go to Komodo dragons. So you can really, just like one good in can take you back to the direction you want to go. But it's like 6 degrees of separation. You have to figure out what you want to do with it.
Yep.
So it's, and some groups, like you said, they will never engage. They don't want to be there.
Nope.
Right.
Bachelorette parties, man, they are hungover.
Just here to party. Or
Yeah,
the
they're
booze
just-
cruise. Yeah, you're like, okay, everyone have their rosé slushy.
But
Okay,
sometimes
great.
you get adult groups that are just adults, and they are so excited to
Yes.
be involved. And that is always exciting to me. I'm like, you guys want to be here so badly, and you're loving this? Okay, let's have some fun. And then you can swear, and it's fine. Because you can't do that with kids.
No.
Then be careful.
So this brings up a thought of authenticity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is really critical to most of this.
It is.
Whoever's presenting has to not only be believable, but like legitimately care.
Yes.
So let's just kind of think back to a venue, a place, event that we went to. We don't have to name anything. I don't want to. We're not in the business of putting anybody down. I'm just curious. Was there a place that you've been where either the information was presented badly or it wasn't authentic? And I'll just kind of jump off with a few years ago. I'm again not going to name names, but I was at a zoological park, and there was a really enthusiastic older guy there talking about elephants.
I know this story.
You know the story. He was, I mean, his authenticity level was quite high. He was like a retired truck driver or someone like that. And I mean, he just, you know, it wasn't his background. But this man was so excited to be there and doing it. And you could feel it.
Yeah.
But everything he said was wrong from the get-go. I won't even say his name either because he had a nickname. And that, it was the first red flag. I'm like, this is going to be weird. I need to listen up carefully here. And I've never been in a 20-minute spiel from a volunteer at a zoo with that much inaccurate information in it.
Okay.
And, you know, he was so happy and wanted to have a discussion about it. And, like, I would try to helpfully point out, like, hey, you know, for example, elephant tusks aren't canines. They're incisors that are modified. And he would just be like, great. And then I would listen again later. It was like somebody had pulled the cord on Woody, and it was the exact same spiel
over and over
all day. So, you know, his authenticity was great, but his information was just so painful.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because the guests that are going to that park, that's what they're going to believe.
You're right.
Because his authenticity was so great. So I'm curious, what have you guys seen that, I don't know, maybe the presenter just was like, are you having an off day? Or like, what's your deal? Or somebody just straight up lying to people.
Yeah, I've definitely ran into it in South Africa. Was actually one of the places I ran into it,
Which would be so easy to
and
do.
it was my guide teacher while I was getting my guiding license there. One of the things that really stood out, and this is not the only person I've heard it from. I've heard it from other people that have been there, is that a lot of people like to say that darker giraffes means it's a boy, but I've heard that many of places, and clearly, as many of us know, there's a lot of different types of giraffe, so it doesn't exactly mean that. And I ran into that many of times. At the time, didn't know the difference, but here we are now. Definitely know the difference. And just, there's a lot of wrong information, but as long as you say with confidence, that's when people will go with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a good counter to that, though, is like there's a more surefire way of knowing which giraffe is a male.
There's a few ways.
The ossicones. Is the ossicones the headgear, yeah?
I was like, but there's like really, really easy way to tell.
One has one has a different thing.
It's just like they stand up at eye level.
Yes.
So it's not a
You
secret.
cannot see it. Not on an 18-foot
It's
animal.
also like a foot long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a secret. Yeah, it just seems like such a weird statement to make. Is when it's not even like an all the time thing. They're like most of the time, then that's not a fact. It's just an opinion kind of. Like if they'd been like all boys are darker and all girls are lighter, then you're making a statement. But they're just like sometimes it means this, and you're like, and sometimes it doesn't.
It doesn't.
So,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough.
Because I ran into that with two different sources.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not just one.
Really?
It's darker giraffes are from two different countries too. One was from Botswana and one was from South Africa.
Wow.
And still, same thing. Darker giraffes are always boys, apparently. Apparently. I don't know.
Always.
Always.
Penises have nothing to do with it.
If you're dark, you're a boy.
Interesting.
But kind of to add on what you were saying about he kind of just seems like he just kind of brushed you off if you said, hey, this is actually this, it's not this. One of the things to kind of make yourself seem authentic and like you know what you're talking about is accepting when you're wrong. And saying, hey, I don't know the answer to this one. I can find it out for you, but I don't know it. And I think that's a big thing is accepting that what you're doing isn't always right.
For
sure.
And that's obviously you can always grow too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's tricky if you're the presenter because
Yeah.
In that case, you have to admit everything you said
Could also
was
be wrong.
wrong.
Yeah.
So now you've lost your credibility.
Yeah.
Well, but I think a good counter to that is biology is not a consistent
No,
science.
it's not.
It changes
Constantly.
all the time. Like, there was a point in time where I was like, yeah, skunks are still related to weasels. They're still mustelids. They hadn't been mustelids for about 8 months at that point. I was still saying it, but at the time I'd started working with them, they were. So it's not so much like you have to keep up with the research. It's a team thing. And so
Yeah.
whoever like runs into that article, because yeah, we're all super nerds.
Yeah.
So you browse to the manga bay, Joffrey's cats.
Jeff's cat.
Jeff Cat. But you want to go, Kira, about authenticity versus enthusiasm or accuracy? Accuracy versus.
You know, I don't have much to add. I think I just love that. Admit when you're wrong, but I agree with what you're saying. Like, I don't think all credibility goes out the window if you admit that you're wrong one time. Like, yeah.
I'll just go with I've never heard that. That's really interesting. I'm gonna look that up as soon
I'm gonna
as I
look
get
it up.
home.
Do my research.
And half the time, the fact they've given you is not correct.
Yeah.
So, like, I can get it when you brush someone off, because when I had like a little kid come up and be like, "Yeah, a fox can jump 15 feet in the air." I was like, I have not heard that fact.
Yeah.
That's new to me.
Yeah, that's news.
I do have to say, I do appreciate enthusiasm, authenticity over dead set accuracy. Because if you're enthusiastic, then you're more likely to encourage people to go look into things on their own. Versus if you're deadpanning but completely correct, that person is going to lose all interest in what you're talking about.
Right.
So I'd rather have a little, like, not making things up, like you said, but a little bit of just like, you're happy to be participating.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Tone
happy
is a
to
big
be there.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you portray what you're trying to say, especially with your voice and all that.
hi.
It
Be a big
also
thing.
has a lot to do with energy. Like, the tours that we're giving are 3 hours long. That is a long time to be with people who do not care or, you know, are uninterested. And it's kind of up to you initially to start with the big energy and, you know, I'm excited about this. Here's why you should be excited as well. Like, check out this animal. Like, look at its adaptations. It is so well adjusted to its environment. Like, this is why, and like, that's awesome. Like, we don't have those. Like, yeah, longhorns, thermoregulation. Oh my God, they're air conditioning units on the head. Wild. Like, that blows my mind. Hope it blows yours, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a hard one too, you know, we're all tired.
Do you ever wonder if the animals look at us and you know, like the deer are like,
Crackheads.
oh my God, Tim, did you see? Look, they have thumbs.
They have thumbs.
That is the
What
coolest adaptation ever.
That's a Far Side comic right there.
Then how do the colobus monkeys feel? They're
Yeah.
just like, mine went away.
I got
Like,
chipped.
wait, they have thumbs?
Porcupines looking at each other. Oh my God, you guys! Colobus monkeys are like, you're not special.
What have you seen, Jeff? Or
I've been trying to think this whole time. I did remember that story that you gave because you told me that one. I feel like there's a few things that happened at that same zoological facility.
That was a day. It was that elephant thing, and then
Oh.
the coworker I was with got spit on by a chimpanzee. That was
Yeehaw.
hilarious.
That's one of my favorite stories.
You had to be there.
I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. I mean, apart from like, not even a person, but just signs at zoos and things like that. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Well, it's tricky when you print a sign; it's almost immediately out of date.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Just like the statements we make.
True.
When I worked for the state parks, I was floored. You know the big display signs?
Yeah.
Those cost about $16,000.
Holy shit!
So you print that thing, and the next week it's out of date. That's
Oh my God.
why
a
even
bummer.
try?
Wow.
Let's just have some
Yeah.
park interpreters go out and spend all their time talking to people.
Sure.
16 grand.
So that, I mean, that's
absurd.
good then. I guess if you haven't really seen it up front, you know.
I'm sure
You've
there
been
is.
lucky.
I can't think of one though, right off the top of my head. I've been trying to think while still at the same time listening to all your stories.
Well, then maybe keep pondering.
I will.
We've got a good comment here. I think very related. A lot of celebrities are passionate about certain causes important to them, and put their focus in one area. I think that's super related to the bigger conversation we're having here, because This is tricky.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Celebrities can be really useful, but they
Yeah.
can also be super ineffective. Because I think as a society, first off, we've become so used to the idea of somebody selling us something that it's almost white noise. But also, I think celebrities don't do their homework sometimes as well as they could,
Yeah.
and then present stuff that can be just as harmful as what they're talking about, you know, in the reverse side of things.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to bring up, especially like greenwashing and all that.
Yeah.
Huge.
And not doing your research and promoting something that on the front is a great idea, but then the farther you go into it, you realize how intertwined it is with other things that maybe aren't as just blanking on the word, just as not greenwashed, for lack of a better term for now, or sustainable, I should say. Like just randomly came into my head. Has nothing to do with a lot of animals, but just like finding out like Locks for Love, you have to pay for that, and how like intertwined all these things can be if you don't really have your research, or like the blue check mark with tuna fishing and how it's dolphin safe. It's not actually dolphin safe because the same people that do the fishing are also the same people that are saying it's dolphin safe. So there's a conflict of interest there. So there's a lot of things that are
We didn't
intertwined.
see any dolphins in the water. Do not ask the questions.
Well, it's a bit like PETA. You know,
Yes.
a lot of celebrities endorse PETA without researching to all of the horrible things they commit to and all the different things they spend money on. But I think the best example I've ever seen of a celebrity sort of taking a stand was Maggie Q when she did. Do you guys know Maggie Q, the actress?
No.
She's great. She's terrific, and she's very popular. She's Asian. She's very popular in China and Japan, and she did a really terrific commercial that was against shark fin soup. So it was not based on any sort of company. It was through Wild Aid. It was done through Wild Aid, but it wasn't to market like donate to Wild Aid. It was simply one stand against shark fin soup, and it was really well done. It was very impressive, and she wasn't selling anything. She's just like, this is my thought. And that was it. And I thought that was actually a really powerful impact statement. That was really well done. We could probably find that commercial because it was great.
Probably.
Yeah.
Did Yao Ming did one too?
Yes.
And Jackie Chan also
With
did one.
with
Yeah,
what?
with
Wild
Wild
Aid
Aid.
is like on it with the
Yeah.
celebrities. I mean, obviously
And
they
they're
have,
local.
Exactly, yeah, they're based in San Francisco, right? So, Yao Ming, Jackie Chan,
There's a lot.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
They've got
like the cast of Black Panther, which is cool.
British monarchy.
Sure.
But they really did approach it in a very different way, where they're not asking for funding. They're asking just really for attention to very specific situations that are easily addressed by the general population. Don't buy shark fin soup.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually pretty easy to not do.
Have you guys seen the Cal Academy new exhibit?
No.
Which one?
The shark one?
The shark one?
Yes.
Did you go
It-
see it?
I did.
Oh, I was,
It was
so
fantastic.
shook when you go around that corner and there's
Oh,
the
the-
shark fin soup cans.
Yes.
And they were all in like all English because they were intended for an English speaking audience. I was like, wait a minute, hold the
Hold
phone.
on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who here is buying this so I can go beat them with a cane? What is this? That
Yeah.
hit hard, but that whole exhibit was wonderful.
It was quite impactful, I thought.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah. I was thinking of the last part of the exhibit where they kind of also are talking about like how many, everyone's afraid of being killed by a shark, and it's like, well, here's how many shark deaths actually happen, and here's all these other things that kill people.
More likely
power
to be killed by a
lines and-
cow.
Yeah, it's just like, it is just like,
What a way to go.
please.
Or even a vending machine. You're more likely to have a
Wait,
vending
what?
machine fall
Yeah.
on you
Yeah.
than you
Seen
are to be
that.
killed by
shark
a shark.
attack.
Oh, that's
Coconuts.
crazy.
Yeah.
More likely to
Yeah.
die from coconuts.
Should have left
Yeah.
the candy bar there.
Yeah.
I think Cal Academy and Monterey Bay Aquarium, they are two facilities that do very incredible work, like Seafood Watch. Just really incredible work that anyone can look into and should look into, and it takes very little effort because they are smart enough to know that people are lazy, and they're like, here, we'll just give you an app for that.
Here it
It's
is.
that easy.
Here it is.
Zero effort. Open your phone. I kind of love that people are working on that so much. I know you see Ember over there. She's Alex's
Dog
cat.
goes all
Gotta get the
excited.
cat.
Mwah. So
Well, to try to start putting a wrap on this, because believe it or not, we're already almost at time.
Wow. Ooh,
Right? That
nice.
went by super
That
fast.
was
It's
awesome.
insane.
Cool.
Let's just kind of go with one final thought here, which is, what does an ideal type of presentation or group look like to all of us? What would that be like? What makes you walk away from whatever job you just did and be like, yeah, that was good. That was awesome. I had an awesome time. Everything worked, dialed in, you know?
We're talking about from like a presenter
Yeah.
standpoint,
From the
or
presenter's
okay.
point of view. And,
Um,
you know, we can think beyond the direct experiences we've already had and think maybe into forecast to the future. Like I project, I would love nothing more than to make a life doing a show like this and guiding full-time in Africa. And I think I always love the late day drives, you know, where you get the sunset drive
Sunset.
going into
Sure.
The wind's
twilight,
coming
like we're
in.
right now, wind's
Yeah.
coming in. Because everything comes to life and all the
Yes.
animals start moving and they're up and active.
Yeah.
Man, if we were on a drive right now, I would expect to see all kinds of amazing. Remember that big herd of breeding elephants we drove in through?
Hooey. Yeah.
It was the exact same
Yeah.
kind of way. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
A group that could care less about photography or any of that stuff, but simply wants to go just be in nature.
Yeah, just to kind of immerse themselves in.
Yeah, a group that you
hole.
can park at like a watering hole or some siding and not even have to say anything.
Yeah.
Because whatever's happening is good enough.
Yeah.
That's for me the best kind of group.
Yeah. I feel like we talk about this a lot at lunch. You know, what's a good group versus a bad group? Like, you can absolutely tell when someone is paying attention to you and they have their eyes on you. And, you know, it's awesome when we get those groups that are, like, engaged and they're asking questions and they're telling you what they notice and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it's okay if you're just the one yammering about, you know, I don't know, I'm excited to be here. I love these animals. I love nature. I'm going to go off. About ground squirrels, I don't care. But, like, yeah, if you have just even a group, they're listening to you, that's all I need. Someone listening to what I'm saying. I just want them to take home something.
Yeah.
Something, learn something, maybe care a little bit more about anything. Yeah.
I know. I was gonna say I think my favorite groups are. I love working with kids, but adults too. But I sometimes get groups, very rarely, but sometimes get groups that'll be like, "Wow, how can we solve that kind of problem?" And you're like,
Oh boy, I've been waiting for you.
"It's like I've been waiting all my life for this." And of course, there are some solutions that are readily available, and there are some solutions that'll take a little bit of research, and sometimes it can be as simple as maybe, you know, if this is something that's happening in your area, maybe you can do some local organization, you know, collaboration and that kind of thing. But I do like it when people hear about a problem, because the worst thing in the world to me is having someone shut down because you're like, well, one person is not going to fix the world. I'm sorry, it sucks, but it's true.
Yeah.
But we can all do little tiny things. Like, basically the bare minimum is just not making things worse, and I feel like we can do that.
What is it, like the starfish effect? It's where like you throw one back in, it doesn't make a difference to the thousands that are on the beach, but it makes a difference to that one.
Yeah.
So you're still making a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so I feel like when people kind of take that away and are like, well, you know, what can we just do to not make this worse, or just help a little bit? And that's a big thing, is just be like, just try, go spend a day on the beach picking up trash.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like minimal effort, because if you're going to go to the beach anyway, just pick up trash you
Bring a
see. You
trash
don't even
bag.
have to go look for it.
Yeah,
You
just bring a
if you
bag.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of makes me happy when people sort of try to come up with solutions or ask, how can we solve a problem?
And are active.
And
Yeah.
you can't say, well, we can't solve this problem just one person, but you can solve a very small portion of it very easily. Very little effort. What? She's like, yes.
I feel like I had a few guests recently. It had to be earlier this week or last week, either way. I think the groups not only that are listening, but engaged and are asking not just questions, but like really intelligent questions. I And then after, I mean, even with the kids, because, you know, kids are still all about the wild kratts thing, and so they're asking smart questions. And Sue was like, God, kid, you get it, you know? And then we're done, and we're saying our goodbyes and whatnot, and, you know, Dad is there, and he's just like, I'm so, you know, appreciative of your knowledge and how you presented it, and it just kind of makes you feel good, you know? And so we just had that whole little chat right after, and that's kind of my ideal group, especially if kids take something away from what you've just kind of done for them. That's my jam.
Nice.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
I don't think I have like a specific group that I'd rather have, because all three of those can be amazing in their own ways.
Yeah.
And as long as they're just happy to be there and just engaged, I guess, it's just really the bottom line. So if they're asking questions, or even if they're not, you can just see they're talking and they're nodding, they're listening. I think that just no matter
if they're reacting in some way.
If they're just happy
don't
to
give
be
me
there,
a blank face, you know.
And they're not that old grandpa that's being forced
Scowling
to
in the
go,
back.
so he's
Yeah.
mad to be
Just
there.
upset.
Yeah, it's as long as they're engaged.
Did he growl at you?
Yeah. Please don't roar at the birds.
Oh.
I just had to.
So we had to.
Stop.
Yeah.
I just had a kid to do that.
Oh, I thought you were
Well, at
talking
least
about an
it's a
old
kid.
man. I
It
was
was
like,
like,
no,
no.
you didn't.
It was a kid.
It was at the Victorian Crown Pigeons.
Yeah.
I was like, really?
This is like
Get
we
out
went
here.
from best groups to worst groups.
I was like,
Who do we hate?
So what's your ideal bad group?
I was like, oh. I hate
Let's save that for a whole episode.
yeah.
We're just about to wrap. So Jeff, would you mind? I forgot earlier. So
I
we
gotcha.
can do it from
Ninja
here.
roll.
Duck out.
Back into
Just
the
show up
shadows.
the live African look.
Oh yeah.
We'll pull that up here in a second. Not quite yet. I think what we've more or less decided here is if you're out there and listening, please tell all your friends and family and loved ones about, as long as you're sentient, breathing, and having fun, I think, you know, you'll make all that much more of a difference in your interpreter or whoever's presenting the nature at whatever park you're at. Beyond that, I think, like we've all pointed out, going to places, seeing things, and taking the time, like you said. It takes 2 seconds to pick up a piece of trash off the beach. That's it. And you're on your way to your car anyway. Just toss it. Actively trying to make choices that benefit everything. And then just being involved. Be present. I've had to really watch myself. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, phones are super addictive. And our whole life is spent.
Made to be addictive.
They're
too.
made to be addictive.
That's it. Yeah.
Our whole life is spent on these boxes. So put the box down after you're done watching Misguided and go outside and look at the stars. It's a beautiful night. We've got Venus poking its head up. There's a moon a bit out. Go out and enjoy some nature. If you're lucky, you'll see a bat. Have you guys noticed there's been 2 or 3 flying through here?
I was too focused on the moth. I was very upset.
I
I
saw
was
an
super
owl
mad.
in your tree. It just landed
Did
up
you?
there. Yeah, there was one. We had just started the program. I didn't know my place yet, so I didn't. I
You don't have
was like, ow.
Everybody's place is center stage. That's,
Yeah, I know.
that's
I
the
realize
kinda
that now, but
quality
it's
show
like
we're
like
running.
20 seconds in, I was like,
You're allowed to just like punch Alex and be like, dude.
There's an owl up there.
I know. I almost freaked out, but I didn't.
sidebar.
Okay.
Next time,
Anyway,
next time.
I know for next time.
Well, let's try to get in a wildlife sighting here. I don't know if the audio is going to cut out. Jeff,
We
could you
have a
just take
wildlife
us?
sighting.
We do. That adorable fluffy.
This is a domesticated Eurasian wolf.
Jeff, could you take us to the Olifants River in Bulule Nature Reserve, South Africa?
Domesticated Eurasian wolf.
I don't know if it's it's on the thing. I don't know if they can still hear us or not.
You have it lined up?
Yep, I can hear you.
It's gonna, just leave it there for a second.
So hang on.
Theoretically, they'll do it.
Yeah.
There it is. Look at that baboon. Sleeping.
Wow.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, they can hear us.
Okay, good.
There's like an echo though. I don't know if that's better.
Because of you.
Me?
No,
Yeah, we got a bit of a baboon sighting there, guys. It's like 5 in the morning in South Africa right now, so or maybe it's about 6. Yeah. So this baboon is just getting ready to start its day, and probably get up to no good.
Is it yellow baboons in South Africa, or was it
Olive?
Olive baboons.
Yeah.
olive? That's what it is.
Yeah, look at
Ooh,
that.
I
That's
can't believe I knew that question.
Great job.
This is our newest feature on the show, guys. We're going to return to the Oliphants River every episode. And on the right here, we have our sightings board. So hopefully we can start keeping track of the animals that we see every time we cut live with the Oliphants. So we're going to add baboon after this show finishes. That comes from our friends at Earth Explorer. It's called Africam with an M at the end, because they've realized that really the future is in live streaming. So they've started live streaming the African bush. There's several other outfitters like Safari Live that are doing live broadcast safaris from Africa, from South Africa, every single day of the week. And
Morning
you
and
can tune
evening.
in morning, evening, middle of the day, sometimes at night, whenever. You can tune in and check this out for yourself. It's on YouTube. It's all free. I think that's super, super cool. And if you watch these cameras, there's enough that you can bounce around to. Some amazing sightings. Just before the show, we had a couple of crocodiles floating through the water there. They've panned up now. Of course, we have that baboon. At any rate, thank you all so much for being part of tonight's show.
Thanks for having us. Yeah,
Thank
this
you,
is
Jeff,
great.
for running the booth. And
And thank you, Rachel, for
So
cookies
thank you, Rachel.
and running the booth.
And thank you
forget about
everybody at
Ember.
home for Ember and
Havoc.
Havoc. There we go. Wreaking havoc. I'm gonna commit that to me.
Wreaking havoc. She's got to be part of the shepherd squad. All of my dogs have have airplane fighter jet names, so she is named after the bomber, the Havoc.
I didn't even know there was a bomber named
Cool.
Havoc.
It was a World War I bomber.
Huh. That's why I don't know it. I thought they were all on biplanes.
No, they still have bombers back then.
Anyway, guys, have a great rest of your evening. If you're watching this on a replay, check out the rest of our channel. Tell your friends, like, subscribe, all that good stuff that I'm supposed to say here at the end. Hopefully this is the beginning of something beautiful and we start all doing more shows. So let's do some like fun, weird skits and stuff. Where we're
Sounds good.
Getting into crazy things. But till then, guys, have a good night.